What's up, y'all? Hey, and look at me trying to be fancy with a microphone. Anyways, y'all, I feel like it's been a minute since I made a video. Like, what the heck? Anyways, did y'all enjoy last night's episode? I know I did. So let's get into it, shall we? So y'all, starting off, we have Barb and Melissa. They are in the cafeteria of the gym. I believe it was maybe the gym. Anyway, they were talking about how the kids in Ava is always in their phones and they don't play like hand games anymore. So they got to talk about like Rock and Robin and Miss Mary Mac and all that other stuff. And the girl was like, "Oh, we do that." Like, and then they put down their phones and they did it. But, the rhyming song or whatever it is to those games, like, were very deep. Like, talking about living on native land and all this other stuff. And I was just like, oh my gosh, they all mess. But pretty much, y'all, this episode was about a lot of changes. A lot of changes. So for Janine, we had the fact that we all know she's been working for the district and she is doing one heck of a job and it's being recognized. So she had a surprise visit by the superintendent, played again by um Michael Keegan Key, y'all know from Key and Peele. And he came and he let her know, like, I know your fellowship is up or about to be up, but we want to offer you a full-time position and we want you to think about it. And she was like, and I was like, you better go. You better go. But I also knew like it's gonna be a hard decision. It would be a hard decision for anybody to do that. Especially when you are so close to the students in your, in your grade level or your coworkers and stuff. So she was pretty stoked about that. Meanwhile, back at Abbott, there was a substitute that came in, of course, that was subbing for Janine, and it was a male this time, a black male. And he was talking to Greg, um, who was literally just got through having a conversation with one of his students. And shout out to Jabria. Do y'all know Jabria from TikTok? When they be like, Jabria, are you smart? And she be like, yeah. So I was like, look at her with her little accent. Go ahead. But anyways, yeah, she did really good. But anyway, he was talking to her about losing, her losing the tooth and swallowing it. And, she was just asking a bunch of questions. So anyway, the substitute comes in and asks Greg about a student by the name of Alex. And which he believed, I think he said that he had him last year. And the sub was letting him know like he hadn't been there for 3 days in a row. And we all know that when you are missing a student, whether they're those good students or those, challenging students, we do become concerned about where they are, especially if you don't hear anything. There's no excuse absences or anything like that. So he was pretty concerned. He was like, that's not like him. I had him before. Have you called anybody? Has, anybody called the school? And so he's like, no, but if he, doesn't show up in tomorrow or the day after that, I believe, which whatever it was, it's a allotted number of days that he couldn't miss. And if he did, he would have to go to the truancy court. And so he was like, we're going to get to the bottom of this. Thank you for letting me know. So then eventually he has to go talk to the lady, the clerk, as we call them in the school system, the attendance clerk, and tells her that he's missed like 7 days. And she was like, oh, no, he can't do that. And then, no, at first she said it wasn't a problem. Then when he said 8 days, it was like, oh, no, we got to get on it. And he was like, okay, did y'all call? Did y'all check? It's not like him. And she was basically letting him know, like, look, we have an automated system that calls when students are absent, and that's about it. But nobody had, reached out or returned phone calls. And so he was just like, man, what is going on? This is not like him. I'm concerned. So he calls up Janine for some help. Which of course she's ready to help him. And she ends up tagging along with him so that they can go and do their thing to go find Alex. So even before that happened, um Jacob is teaching his class. Y'all know he got the older one, so they're in there cutting up. And he's teaching his class about a new system that basically shows if papers that are being written or emails being sent, or anything like that over the computer have been like done through AI, And so it was a system that like highlighted the whole entire thing. And so he gave them some examples, and one of the students only had like 3% that was AI generated. And I thought it was pretty neat. I'm not a techie person, so I don't even know if that is an actual app or program. But if it is, people gonna be sorry. I'm just gonna say it like that. They're gonna be upset. Anyway, so then he was like, he wanted to give them another example, and he chose a response to an email that he sent to the lovely Miss Barbara. And he was just like, she responds to my emails all the time. It's my good old friend. And he hit the button, and the whole entire thing, 99% it said on there, was um lit up. And he was like, what? So then, without us seeing it, we found out that he checked an email from Melissa as well. And he was pretty in his feelings about it. So he goes to them and, confronts them about it. Like, I thought y'all were my friends. I thought y'all loved me. Like, why would y'all not really respond to the emails that I send? And they're just like, look, we were given this program for, to check for the students' work, but we use it too. And ain't nothing wrong with it. But at the end of the day, his emails are too long. He talks about too much. He sends them way too often. So we don't got time to be doing all of that. So we just let the AI stuff do what it do. And again, he was like so upset about it. And he just couldn't understand why they would do something like that. So he was going around the school and he was ignoring them, and they were kind of, like still teasing him, but also like wanting him to like get out of his feelings. And he was just having the worst day. But to make matters worse, in comes Janine with a check-in and an update meeting that she wanted to have with her coworkers and of course Ava. And everybody was just like, okay, what's the big news? Like, and they didn't wasn't taking it seriously, and everybody began to walk out. But then she dropped some news, and I was just like, oh my God. And the news kind of shook up the place. Jacob said that it was now officially stamped the worst day ever. And on top of that, Barb was saying that she was proud of her for the a decision that she was making. And Ava was also happy. And she was like, I'm finna go celebrate. I'm about to go and start looking for other people to interview and all this other stuff, because what's about to happen is going to be insane. And I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know how I feel about it. But again, I am kind of like on the fence about it. Like, I'm proud that she is standing in her own lane and doing a good job and, making a name for herself in the district. But I'm also like, girl, you finna leave for real, for real? I don't know. Maybe so. But before Janine made the announcement, she wanted to know where Greg was. Whole time, like I said, Greg is talking to this clerk and trying to figure out like where Alex is, how he can get in contact with his people. And come to find out, the boy lived right across the street. He been gone for 8 daggone days, almost 9, and finna go to truancy court. And whole time, he's across the street. Make matters worse, he's across the street with his granny. Now, shout out to all the grannies, because this granny was funny. But whenever you were at home back in the day, or even probably now, whenever you back home having an off day or being sick, you got to be with your granny. And it was funny because she could not hear, she couldn't understand nothing that they were saying over the phone. So it was just like the conversation was hilarious. On top of the Price is Right music in the background that she had all the way up. Greg trying to tell her to turn it down. She's like, what? What are you saying? He's right here. He's okay. He's watching it with me. So the phone call didn't quite go so well. So he decides again, like I said, to ask Janine for her help and go and try to figure out what he could do so that the little boy won't have to go to truancy court and all of this stuff. And per protocol, you're not supposed to show up at people's house or go in people's house, but him and Janine care about this student, and they bend and break the rules when necessary. So they teamed up to go and check on little Alex. Meanwhile, he still doesn't know. Greg still doesn't know Janine's announcement, and he is under the assumption that she is going to be ending her fellowship and returning to Abbott soon. Um, and it all comes to head when they actually go and meet Alex and talk with his grandmother, who doesn't seem to make it a big deal like that he's missing school, because like she said back in her day, if they didn't, they went to school only when they could make it. They had other important things to do. And I'm like, it's not that way anymore. But um it's kind of sad actually that there are people who still think like that in 2024. So anyway, they go and they have a talk with her, but she is just not clicking. And I was just like, this grandmama, where is his parents? Why is he with this lady? Because she's not all the way there. But yeah, she she goes and they have the conversation. She doesn't really get it. So Greg is like, you know what? Just forget it. Let's just go. And then Janine looks in and she sees him, all like slouched on the floor watching Price is Right. And so she's like, you know what, can we come in? And the granny was like, sure, but don't be doing this and don't be doing that, and giving them like attitude a little bit. I was like, not the sassy granny. But anyways, so they go in and they want to get understand why Alex doesn't want to come. And y'all, and I was just like, oh, he didn't want to come because Janine wasn't there. He was like, she don't come to school, so why do I gotta come to school? And they explained to her, like, it's her job now to be at a different place. But again, Greg, under the assumption that the fellowship is almost over and she's gonna come back to Abbott, he says that, and Janine kind of was like, oh. And she looks at the camera and then makes drops the bomb. And the little boy's like, what? And Greg's like, what? So then the granny done fell asleep. Alex still watching TV and they're having their conversation, and he's kind of taken aback, Greg is, and he's like, I'm gonna miss my friend. And she, is upset about it a little bit, but she understands. Well, they both come to an understanding that this is what's best for her and this is what she wants to do. And so if she makes this decision, then it's gonna be different, but it's gonna all work out. And she's still gonna visit just like she's been doing. And so they come to this like little agreement, and they ended up leaving. And it was like a little awkwardness, a little awkward silence, because I'm like, I feel like Greg was in his head like, man, like she's really leaving, like. And then she's happy but also like, of course, mixed feelings, because her and Greg still have this like this bond, and they are like work booths but not, you know what I mean. So while all of that was going on, Jacob finds out from just overhearing a conversation with Mr. Johnson, the janitor, that Barbara and Melissa actually take time to read his emails that he sends once every quarter, not all the time, and are actually interesting and allow them to get to know him outside of his role as a janitor. And he's like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Let me get on this email train. Let me see what he's talking about. And so he gets the email saying, and Mr. Johnson comes in and confronts him because he put Jacob's email into the system and found out that he plagiarized the majority of it except for some joke he tried to throw on Mr. Johnson. And he was like, you know what? I'm sorry. I've been swamped with work and da 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 da. All the excuses that Melissa and Barbara told him, he done told to Mr. Johnson. And now Mr. Johnson's like, I don't care. I don't care. At least they take time to do it, and they, he just went off just like Jacob did to Barbara and Melissa. And um he actually took the time later on to go and read the entire email, and it was like, oh my gosh, it's beautiful. I love it. You did an awesome job writing it, and I know that I was like overdoing it with the emails, and I'm going to basically pull back on it. But while all of this is going on, y'all, our favorite principal, Ava, is holding open interviews and having people come and like I guess you could say like try out to replace Janine, and she don't even know if Janine's actually gonna take the position or not. She's just super, super excited. But she done had people stand in lines talking about if you under 5'5", if you got a jelly bean belt, if you this, if you that, step forward. Okay, you're dismissed. Like she was just getting her life just basically thinking that she's gonna get rid of Janine altogether. And she finally made a decision. She said she had like over 590 something interviews, and she picked this one girl who's like kind of sort of like a little duplicate of her, but not. So I'm like, is she gonna be like a part of the show? Is she gonna be a new castmate? And we don't know, right? Um, so they come in the middle of the back and forth between Mr. Johnson and Jacob. And again, this is like something that Ava has been wanting because again, her and Janine have this love-hate relationship, mainly on Ava's side. But she was just like, if I can get rid of you, oh my God, it's gonna be the best day ever. So towards the end of the episode, y'all, they decide to allow Alex to be a part of Greg's garden goofball group. That was a lot of G's. And he was like, he could keep an eye on him. He can get involved. And that way, while Janine is off in the district, she knows that her student is taken care of. And Greg can, keep, like I said, keep an eye on him and stuff. And so he calls Janine the next day to let her know that he actually saw with his own two eyes the student Alex in the classroom. And he was even actually early to school. And they have this little, you know, little 5-minute conversation over the phone. And he was like, you know what, we make a good team. And then Janine was kind of like, in her mind. And she was like, you know what, have a great day. And then they hung up. And I was just like, see, they really do make a great team. And he didn't open up a can of worms now in her mind because when she got handed some paperwork for her new job because she, supposedly going to be full time now, she asked because she give it a day to think about it because, or not necessarily think about it, but it's like, I believe it's to think about it, but she told the person that brought her the paper, like, just because she was busy and she didn't feel like looking through it, could he give her a day or two? And that was literally right after she got the phone with Greg. And so I think about him saying that by her knowing that the reason why Alex didn't come to school is because she wasn't there, and just all of the time she's already spent away from Alex, I feel like maybe she'll change her mind. I don't know. I kind of like her at the district. I kind of miss her being an Abbott at the same time. I don't know. It just gives it a whole different dynamic to this show. Because, like I said, I love the show so much. So then after all of that was over, the little boy Alex gets introduced to the goofballs, and they were outside in the garden, just like, again, some of the older kids in Jacob's class are a part of it, and they was talking about the girls. And once they give them the flowers, that the girl would take them back, and the whole time he was gonna give the girl some cabbage, and everybody started joking on him and laughing. And that's when Greg and Alex came out, got introduced, and told him this is gonna be a part of his group. And then Alex and took off running across the street without looking both ways, got Greg chasing after him. So Alex is back. And I think that's pretty much the whole entire episode, y'all. It was a good one. Like I said, I wonder if that, replacement is going to be a part of the show now. And I'm curious to see what's going to happen because I think next Wednesday is a new episode. So it'll be episode 10 already. Oh my gosh. And then after that, I don't think that it's another episode as from what I saw from the Instagram. But yeah, y'all, they were actually on the Jennifer Hudson show this week. I just got in from work, honestly, and saw Jacob. Well, Chris is his real name, I believe. On there. and they look so different when they're, just themselves. But yeah, this was another good episode. I hope I didn't miss anything. As always, thank you for watching. You don't have to, but you do, and I appreciate you. And I'll see y'all when the next one, episode 10. Bye, y'all.